Hello everyone, welcome and or welcome back to my channel. My name is Hannah if you're new here, and I'm returning to a book tag that I did back in 2021 and I have not done since. So I am resurrecting the finally fall book tag. I'm going to be answering 10 seasonally appropriate questions as it relates to books. I have the original video that I did in 2021 in the description, as well as the original creator who came up with these questions as well. So the first question is, in the fall, the air is crisp and clear, name a book with a vivid setting. Now, I wouldn't classify the desert as a very fall setting, but the Forever Desert in the Lies of the Django and the Forever Desert trilogy has one of the most viscerally written settings I have read in quite a while. This is a little epic fantasy novellas trilogy that is better than the sum of its parts, in my opinion, but I love this first installment the most. This is about a boy who his people are dying of thirst and he decides to venture out into the desert to find water, and adventure ensues, and we are dealing with some pretty heavy topics in here. About power imbalance and power structures and systems of oppression in a tiny little novella. I highly recommend this trilogy. I think the desert setting is very realized and very vivid. The second question is, nature is beautiful but also dying. Name a book that is beautifully written but also deals with a heavy topic like loss or grief. And I'm gonna go with I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman. This is a literary sci-fi novella where you don't really get the answers in the end. It's about a group of women who have been in captivity their whole lives. Well, our main character, it's for our main character's whole life. Most of the other women have memories outside of captivity. They finally one day escape and they come out from the underground into a world that they don't recognize. And this is a novella that sticks with you for a really long time. I don't really want to talk too deeply about the themes here, but we are dealing with really existential stuff in this literary sci-fi. I still think about this one. The ending is so sad and brutal, but it brings up some excellent questions. Question number 3 is, fall is back to school season. Not for me. Share a nonfiction book that taught you something new. I'm gonna have to go with Everything is Tuberculosis by Hank Green. Hank Green has a way of writing about nonfiction in a way that is both really informative, and he doesn't take the topic lightly in any stretch of the imagination, but he weaves a narrative throughout this nonfiction about a particular story, and throughout that story we get glimpses of hope. And so this nonfiction is talking about this horrific disease and the systemic issues surrounding why this disease is still so prevalent today, but we leave with our hearts full. It's a very hopeful novella. It's like slightly less than 300 pages. So not only did I learn a lot, but the way that it was written, it was a very compelling read and left me feeling sad that this is the reality, but hopeful that things can change from here. And I think he just did such a beautiful job with this one. Question 4 is, in order to keep warm, it's good to spend some time with the people we love. Name a fictional family, household, friend group that you'd like to be a part of. My favorite found families this year have been the friend group from the E.L. Massey's Breakaway series. The first book is Like Real People Do, and also Vera Wong's Little Found Family. This is the second book in the series, but the first book is Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers. The found family in both of these is truly lovely, and it makes me smile every time I think about these two lovely groups of people. I'm skipping number 5. Number 5 is just come up with a fall book stack. Find orange and red and yellow books on your shelves. I have a rainbow shelf right there. There you go. I just don't feel like it, to be honest. Number 6 is fall's the perfect time for some storytelling by the fireside. Share a book wherein somebody is telling a story. So I have 2 very different answers for this. The first is The Justice of Kings by Richard Swan. So this is told from the perspective of the clerk, Helena, and this is told from the future. So this is her looking back on her time with Conrad von Volt, who is judge, jury, executioner all in one. He's known as a justice. And this is kind of a murder mystery meets horror epic fantasy. I absolutely love this trilogy. The other answer I have is actually The Tenant of Wildfell Hall. This is a literary classic. And there is a big chunk of the middle section of this book where the real meat of the story is, where we are reading the diary of the main female protagonist, and her life and her courtship, her marriage, her having her son. And so I wanted to give 2 answers for this. I'm also cheating again. I'm making the tag my own a little bit by combining questions 7 and 8. 7 is The Nights Are Getting Darker, share a dark, creepy read, and 8 is The Days Are Getting Colder, name a short, heartwarming read that could warm up somebody's cold and rainy day. How I'm combining this is by classifying this section as horror that gives you a hug. So literary horror or cozy horror. So I have 3 books in my hands that I consider cozy horror. Cozy and horror is subjective, so take these with a grain of salt. But we have The Last Tale of the Flower Bride, Roshani Chotsky. This is about our main character who is just named the bridegroom, and he marries a woman named Indigo, and she says, never ask me about my past. And of course, the past comes back to haunt them. 10 out of 10, love this. Then we have Our Wives Under the Sea, which is a literary horror about 2 women, and we are following 2 timelines and 2 perspectives. So one of the wives went on this deep sea mission, and she came back changed, and we're following the present timeline of her return from the sea expedition, and also what happened during the underwater mission. This is about grief and change and loss and letting go. My last answer for this is someone you can build a nest in, which is truly horror, fantasy, romance, and cozy, all wrapped up into a little package. This is about Shasheshin, who is a monster who can she's kind of a goo pile and can take items to create an exoskeleton for herself. And she falls in love with a human who nurses her back to health while she's like masquerading as a human. And this is such a lovely little romance novel. Yes, is it cliche? Kind of. And are there lots of plot conveniences? Yes, but I still loved this. Number 9 is Fall Returns Every Year. Name an old favorite that you'd like to return to soon. So I reread quite frequently, but a series I haven't returned to in a while is Strange the Dreamer and Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. This is a very vibey young adult duology. I truly love this series so deeply. It's written almost in a purple prose style, which I really love in this series. And it's just such a great epic fantasy that deals with some really hard topics, which is probably why I haven't returned, because it's a pretty heavy duology. It has to do with war and cycles of violence, and there's some pretty intense triggers in this duology, but I do think the author does handle it with care. It's just, can I handle the subject matter at this time? So I would love to return to this duology at some point. The final question I'm going to be answering is number 10. Fall is the perfect time for cozy reading nights. Share your favorite cozy reading accessories. My favorite cozy reading accessories are a blanket with my dog on top. Very warm, very cuddly, very cute. He does have a tendency to swat all the books out of my hand, but if I'm listening to an audiobook, I can, use 2 of my hands to give him scritches. So that's my favorite cozy accessory, is my baby boy. That is the tag revisited after 4 years. This was fun. I should do some more tags at some point. I always do the mid-year tag, but I haven't done the fall one in quite a bit. So if you're interested in doing this tag, I tag all of you, and I really appreciate you following along and watching this one. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in another video of mine very soon. Bye!